A new article from Vanity Fair released about Deadpool and Wolverine, and this is the best article, the most in-depth article that we have gotten about Deadpool and Wolverine so far. We're going to go over the entire thing because it talks about how Deadpool was almost canceled. Deadpool 3 was almost scrapped. They were trying to make it work in the MCU, but they just couldn't, and it sounds like they were one meeting away from calling it quits. They also talk about the humor of Wolverine, the humor that we're going to see from his character, the one specific fourth wall breaking rule that Ryan Reynolds has for the entire movie and everybody that is a part of it. And this will make fans very happy, they talk about how Ryan Reynolds says that he was not afraid to make any type of joke in this film. He said anything is fair game, and he's well aware of the culture right now, but they didn't try to make a more careful Deadpool movie. So basically, he didn't hold back any punches, which is exactly what we want from Deadpool. And we have just a ton of details about how the movie is made, the conversations that happened with Kevin Feige making the movie, and I guarantee you this will get you even more excited for Deadpool and Wolverine, so let's not waste any time. Let's dive into the article. It's by Vanity Fair, and it's titled Deadpool and Wolverine, Inside the Superhero Movie That Plays Rough, with the subtitle Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and filmmaker Shawn Levy reveal how a ping pong table sent by Blake Lively helped bring R-rated troublemaking to the MCU. The article begins by talking about how Deadpool 3 almost got canceled, how it almost got scrapped, it almost didn't make it to the MCU, it almost didn't make it to the screen. And the article states, one hurdle arose because the trash-talking Marvel character had originally been licensed to 20th Century Fox as a part of the X-Men franchise. When the Walt Disney Company acquired Fox in 2019, fan excitement about the X-Men characters appearing in the broader Marvel Cinematic Universe were tempered by worry about how the family-friendly House of Mouse would tolerate Deadpool's ribaldry and shenanigans. But it continues to say, Marvel Studios wanted to take a shot, however. Levy, who had previously worked with Ryan Reynolds on 2021's Free Guy and 2022's The Atom Project, signed on to make the third installment. And they also state that he worked with Hugh Jackman on Real Steel in 2011. And they state that at first they didn't even consider Wolverine or Hugh Jackman returning. They say Levy, Reynolds, and a team of writers toiled for months trying to crack a new Deadpool story, but nothing was coming together as they hoped. Out of options, the pair prepared to let it go. Then Jackman came to a decision, after a somewhat intense argument with himself, that Wolverine actually should continue, and so Deadpool 3 lived, becoming Deadpool and Wolverine. And from here on out, the interview is fantastic because it is just Ryan Reynolds, Shawn Levy, and Hugh Jackman talking. So here's Ryan Reynolds and Shawn Levy talking about how Deadpool was almost scrapped. They almost didn't make Deadpool 3. Ryan Reynolds said, I felt like I spiritually owed one more, but just trying to figure out what that would be and how that would come about took a while. There's a reason that it's been 6 years since the last one. These movies just swallow lives whole. In a normal movie, you work your ass off, but on a movie like this, you forsake a lot of things that you maybe took for granted. Sleep, seeing your family. The myth of the present father. There's a lot of sacrifice. I mean, these are all uptown problems. I have a very intense relationship with the character and the world that character inhabits. Now here's something very interesting. Ryan Reynolds says, Shawn and I were standing on the set of The Atom Project, and I had already been talking to Marvel here and there, pitching different ideas. A lot of different ideas. It was hard to find my place in the MCU. It was hard to understand or find my footing, even though I was incredibly reverent of it. And so is Deadpool, a big fan. Ultimately, that's part of where the story became. So it's very interesting because one, it's already confirmed right here by Ryan Reynolds that him and Shawn Levy were talking about Deadpool 3 on the set of The Atom Project, which has Mark Ruffalo in it. They even threw in some Deadpool and the Hulk Easter eggs in the film. So I'm not saying the Hulk's in the movie, but they worked on the film in The Atom Project with Mark Ruffalo right there. It is totally possible. But it's also interesting to hear that Ryan Reynolds struggled to find his place in the MCU, that it was a struggle to find out how Deadpool fit in. But he does say that Deadpool and himself, of course, and I really regard them as just the same person pretty much, were very reverent of the MCU, and that fit into the story, meaning Deadpool actually really does respect the Avengers. That's why we see him saluting Captain America in the trailers. But on the set of The Atom Project, this is what Shawn Levy said. Ryan goes, I think I would do another Deadpool movie if we would do it together. I remember Ryan going, "Now, I know you're going to say no." And I remember either verbally or in my mind going, "What are you talking about? I'm already a yes." And here's where it gets rather interesting about the story for Deadpool and Wolverine. You might have heard that this is not Deadpool 3. This is not simply a sequel to Deadpool 2, and it's not. Sean Levy says, "No, my response was pretty much a yes, but we had to find the right story, and that led to a really interesting chunk of months where Ryan and I, along with Deadpool and Deadpool 2 screenwriters Paul Wernick and Rhett Reeves, and another writer named Zeb Wells, best known for Robot Chicken and the She-Hulk series, would come up with the story ideas and have meetings a couple of times a week with Kevin Feige and the team at Marvel. We frankly struggled to find a story that felt original and non-derivative of the other two Deadpool movies. It had to be deserving of the first Deadpool entry in the MCU, but also feel grounded because this is an earthbound, gritty, realistic superhero franchise. We had fits and starts, and Ryan and I were right at the edge of saying to Kevin, "You know what? Maybe now is not the right moment because we're not coming up with a story." And that is the moment where Ryan's phone rang and it was Hugh calling from his car. And I'll let Hugh tell that chapter of the story. Hugh Jackman then says, "It was August 15th of 2022. I was driving at the start of a week's vacation from Broadway." He states that Broadway is full on. They do 6 times a week. He was 9 months in, so he got a week off of work. And he says, "When you get a week off, there's something so miraculous about it and freeing. I was sitting on a beach, not a care in the world. And for some reason, the thought came to my head, what do you want to do? And the first 2 things had nothing to do with work. Then literally I thought, Deadpool, Wolverine. I want to do that movie. That's what I want." And so he thought to himself, "But you've already finished Logan. We stuck the landing. What are people going to think?" And I just said to my brain, "Stop." That's what I wanted. Then I had an hour and a half to drive home and I thought, I've got to ring Ryan. I didn't know where they were in the process, but I actually thought you guys might be about to start filming. And it actually is kind of miraculous on how the next part happened. Ryan Reynolds said that day they had an upcoming Zoom meeting with Kevin Feige. And Hugh Jackman said for some reason he felt like he couldn't wait 20 minutes to get back to the car. He couldn't wait 20 minutes to call. He had to call Ryan Reynolds right then and right now. He said, "Normally I wouldn't feel like 20 minutes is going to matter, but weirdly this sort of did in this situation." He said, "I want to do this movie. I know it in my bones. I know it in my gut." And Ryan said, "I can't believe the timing because we're about to have a meeting and I'm not sure where we're at." Hugh Jackman says, "I instinctively knew that Deadpool was going to allow us to go to a different side of the Wolverine character than I've ever played before in every way, from emotion, humor, dialogue, and action. Everything felt new and fresh to me, and I'd be sharing it with Ryan and Sean, who are 2 of my best friends. The 3 of us together are like the 3 amigos. There was not a day where I wasn't in tears laughing. I felt so rejuvenated playing the part. I mean, I'm 25 years in, man, and it feels better than ever." So this is amazing because not only did Hugh Jackman essentially save the Deadpool franchise, but he says that he feels the best about playing Wolverine right now than he has in 25 years. And we're going to get a completely new side of Wolverine than we've ever seen before. And basically he's telling us we're going to get the best of him, the best of Wolverine, and hopefully the best of Deadpool and Wolverine. And Sean Levy says, "It's why those ping pong photos are our personal favorites. For the 3 of us, those photos are treasures. They captured the spirit of this shoot. It was very hard work, but it was fun every day because we were doing it with buddies." Also, another note is that Blake Lively sent them that ping pong table, and Ryan does mention Blake again in this interview, so a lot of people are thinking Lady Deadpool probably is his wife, Blake Lively, but we'll wait and see on that. Now, here came a different challenge for the movie, fitting Deadpool and Wolverine into the broader Marvel Cinematic Universe and essentially not undoing Logan. Ryan Reynolds said, "Initially, we had a very loose idea of how we would bring Wolverine back in ways that don't necessarily interact or interfere with Logan and that legacy. I know Kevin, like Sean and I, and Hugh, were all very concerned about that. We really needed to protect that and still allow us to tell the most full-throated Wolverine story we could ever imagine, which for us was just a huge nerve-wracking privilege." Sean Levy says, "The legacy of Logan as a movie and a character means a lot to Hugh, of course, but to Ryan and Kevin and me as well. Is there an awareness of that legacy within the movie as well? The answer is yes, and that's that's another way to protect it. And what's interesting is Hugh Jackman said that he might have had about 10 seconds of something worthwhile in a very long voice note, but Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy mostly did all of that work for protecting the Logan legacy. And here's where the fourth wall rules that Ryan Reynolds has come into play. Sean Levy says so many actors come into a Deadpool movie and they're like, great, I get to talk to the camera and break the fourth wall. We're like, no. There's actually a system here, and that keeps Deadpool's tone unique to him. Ryan Reynolds explains the rules. He says, there are rules, very specific rules. You would diminish stakes in the film if everyone, or even anyone else, was also aware of the fourth wall or any kind of meta aspect. Deadpool is the only character who has that ability to do that. If everyone did that, then you would no longer invest in that character as much. You really want to believe that the villain is the villain. You really want to believe that your co-star's character is true as well. Deadpool can undermine that, and does undermine that, because you don't want the audience to take him seriously. Hugh Jackman said, I made the same mistake day one. I made the suggestion and it was like, yeah. So even Hugh Jackman was denied the right to break the fourth wall. He did ultimately get his chance to break the fourth wall in that little pre-movie trailer-esque spot that they're showing right now. The silence your phone spot that shows before some movies right now in the theaters. So ultimately he did end up getting his wish, but not in the real movie. Ryan Reynolds says, I always feel like an absolute dick when I'm trying to explain. I need people as invested as humanly possible in every other character while knowing that only Deadpool is the unreliable narrator. And on this note, Hugh Jackman says something pretty funny. He says, Ryan beautifully describes Deadpool's brain as a half-baked omelet. And so whatever he's doing, talking to a camera, to Wolverine, it's just another layer of annoying crap that I've got to put up with. Who knows what the hell he is doing? But it's just another excuse to punch him in the face. And Sean Levy talks about Hugh's performance as Wolverine. He says, Hugh's performance gives the movie a gravitas and a raw, soulful quality that is unbelievable. And I can't say much more without spoiling it. It's among the things that differentiate the movie from prior X-Men or Deadpool movies. The duo differentiates it. The fact that Logan is with a comedic engine for the entirety of the movie changes everything. And Hugh Jackman jokes, every family has a Deadpool in it somewhere, and every family should have another member who is not afraid to punch that person in the face. And Ryan Reynolds says, you can say her name. It's Blake. Basically saying that Blake, his wife, is the one that punches him in the face. Again, referring to her when talking about Deadpool leads us to believe that she could be Ladypool, but we'll see. And this is where they dive into the humorship topic, where they say on the heightened sensitivities that have trended or risen towards shock humor. Levy says Deadpool has transgressive DNA. He's still an equal opportunity offender, but it's all done with the same cultural awareness and fluency that both Ryan and the character of Wade Wilson have. We didn't make a more careful Deadpool movie. It's as aware of the culture and as aware of being in a movie as the character always has been. And Hugh Jackman basically ends the article by stating, in all of the times I've played Wolverine, I've always ad-libbed at some point. He's often written very sparsely and I'll just try different things. For the first time ever, I had a fellow actor and a director who are writers, who are comically brilliant, who cared about this character as much as I did, who would say, what about this? It's a really difficult thing to do to an actor, but I would say, I effing love that. Give me a line reading, and they're in it. That's the new element that I haven't done before. And Sean Levy says, this friendship between the three of us also made the movie better. You're not embarrassed to try weird, dumb shit. And some of it is going to fail. Some of it doesn't work. But if you're comfortable failing in front of your buddies, you're also going to be comfortable trying stuff that will be inspired. And that is pretty much the article. And I gotta say, this really does excite me even more for Deadpool and Wolverine. It sounds like they just made it absolutely perfect. The best that this movie could have possibly been, they have done that. And I would expect nothing less from these three. I would expect nothing less from Kevin Feige, who sounds like he shot down a lot because he didn't believe that it was going to be the best until Hugh Jackman returned. So I'm super stoked for this. I'm ready. We have a month now. I can't wait to see this movie, but let me know how excited you are in the comments down below. And please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to stay up to date on the MCU and Deadpool and Wolverine. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.